right, we are doing another lesson on graphing. This time we are graphing exponential functions. Now our parent function for exponential functions is f of x is equal to b to the x power, and that is where b is a constant. So b is a number, it's not another variable. Now we can have what we call increasing or decreasing exponential functions. And if b is greater than 1, then it is called exponential growth. And it is increasing. And if our b is less than 1, then it is exponential decay. And it is decreasing. All right, and just like we had when we were graphing our rational functions, we are going to be talking about asymptotes. And again, remember, an asymptote is just a line which the graph gets close to, but never touches. Okay, so now that we have some background info, let's work an example. So this first function here, I have 2 to the x power. So see, this is our 2 would be our b, where b is a constant. So first we want to identify this as growth or decay. So if 2 is our b, that means that b is going to be greater than 1. So this means we are having exponential growth. So this is an exponential growth function. All right, now if I want to see how this looks on the graph, I'm going to plug in a couple of values, both positive and negative. So let's go with our standard 5, -2 to +2. And if I plug in -2 for x, I get 0.25. If I plug in -1, I get 0.5. If I plug in 0, I get 1. And if I plug in 1, I get 2. And if I plug in 2, I get 4. So let's plot those couple points here. So I'm just going to eyeball most of these. And so you can see our graph is growing exponentially. So this is exponential growth. So this is what my graph is going to look like. Now, we look as we're going negative, our y values are getting smaller and smaller, but there's still nothing I'm ever going to put in for x that's going to make this function equal to 0. So I'm going to have an asymptote here horizontally at 0. You can't really see that too well in the black, so let me do it in blue. This is where my asymptote is, okay? So let's answer some questions about our graph here. Domain and range. Remember, domain is our x and our y. I don't have any restrictions on my x values, so the domain is going to be all real numbers, or you could say -infinity to +infinity. It's up to you. Now, ranges are y values, and that is restricted by this horizontal asymptote here. So y can be all of these positive numbers, but it cannot be negative. So y has to be greater than 0. It cannot be any kind of negative numbers. Okay? So now, end behavior. As x goes off to infinity, so it's going to the right in the positive direction, our y values are increasing. They're going off to infinity as well. So what's happening to our x and then what's happening to our y? Y is getting bigger. Sorry, x is getting bigger, y is getting bigger. Now, if we look as x goes to -infinity to the left, x is getting smaller, and so is y. Y is approaching 0, but never quite touching. So remember, this is as we're going to the right, and this is as we're going to the left. Y-intercept, that's where we cross the y-axis, and that is at the point 0, 1. And our asymptote, that horizontal line, is at y equals 0.